American reality. The people are presented with representations of real-life kings and queens through the medium of the Black Research Institute, BRI. These are their stories.
Hey. We're back. My name is Negus Denoris Wilson. And as I do every week, welcome everybody to the BRI, which is the Black Research Institute, and I limited to Sky. See, I try to merge entertainment with information, and the icing on the cake is a dope conversation. Ain't no time for the faking, debating, or the hating. I'm trying to hip you all to the moves they be making. They all struggle, but still find a way to make a way. Fight back, count stats, stay black all day. So I seek to supply you all with inspiration, with information to remedy our present situation. By showing you examples of black royalty, and you never have to question the intent of loyalty. We're moving forward with the strength that's supremely kinetic. We're confident, we're black, we're unapologetic. Instilling self-love is what really we hope. No doubt about it, black people, we dope. We dope. And don't forget that. We are dope. Regardless of anything that you may go through, anything that you may feel is not fair, you are dope. We're dope. And tonight is no exception. Let me start off by saying this, man. I love what I do. I really do. I love bringing people with ideas and information to help other people. I love it. I love this. I love being here and being able to facilitate these live broadcasts so that you can see that we're not just entertainers, that we're not just athletes. You know, we're not just movie stars. We are everywhere and we're doing everything and just as good as anyone else. And tonight I have a realtor that's going to be coming up shortly. She's in the studio, but she doesn't have her camera on yet. But we're going to get some information about real estate tonight. So when we come back, I'm going to introduce tonight's guest, and we're going to make it happen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carla, aka DC Muffy, owner and operator of RDI Investments based out of Atlanta, Georgia. But right now, you're listening to the BRI, Black Research Institute with Negus Denoris Wilson. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, my name is Kristen. I am the owner of Foreplay and the Hope Now Foundation. You can follow me on Facebook at Kristen Lorraine. You can also follow me on Instagram at the only Chris Lorraine. But right now, you are tuned into BRI, Black Research Institute with Negus Denoris Wilson.
And we're back. And as I said, tonight we have a realtor. She's finally in the studio. I can see her in the green room. She's smiling. She made it in. But listen, before I do that, you see this up here? That's next week's guest. Her name is China Shorty. She actually has a trucking logistics company. And we're going to find a little bit more about the trucking industry next week. But this week, we're talking about real estate. And we're talking about real estate with Miss Jessica Gordon. So without further ado, BRI, help me welcome Miss Jessica Gordon.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I am well. How are you, Denorsi? It's a pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you. Listen, I already came up with a new moniker for you.
Let me hear it.
Your new name is the Purple Proprietor.
Purple Proprietor. I'm feeling that. I like it. The Purple Rain, the Purple Proprietor. I like it.
Look, as I was doing this show, I'm trying to get images of you, and I just see a sea of purple. Sea of
Yes, I am consistent. You know, just the same way when we think of Target, what color we think of?
red.
And so I'm just branding, preparing myself. I was a classroom teacher, so I've been having to learn a lot about marketing. So it's very different from the industry that I was in. So I'm just learning as I go.
You and me both. So look, as I told you early in the week, I'm not traditional in how I handle my guests. Right? I'm not traditional. I'm not going to contact you. I'm not going to give you a group of questions for you to be prepared, because I want the interview to be totally organic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I want to feel, I want to discover and get the information from you just as though I was watching the show. Right? So I don't know anything about you, Jessica, Miss Gordon. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about you except for the fact that you're the North Carolina, South Carolina realtor, mom, teacher. That's all I know. So before we start the interview, though, it's customary that I ask you two questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first question is, are you happy?
I am happy. I am well. Absolutely.
Okay. And the next question is, are you being safe?
I am being safe. I am.
Okay. So, well, if that's the case, then we can carry on then.
All right. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. So listen, as I said,
like that. Are you happy? Are you being safe? I like that.
Oh,
I may carry that with me.
Okay. Well, it's yours.
I like that.
So as I stated earlier, I know absolutely nothing about you. I just went on your page and the energy that came off through your pictures, it struck me as I need to interview her, right? Like I need to interview her. I think the information that she's able to provide will be able to help a lot of people, right? So tell the people a little bit about yourself, but don't go too much in detail because we have another 45 minutes to go with the interview.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that you noticed. I absolutely am very intentional about the content that I share, and it is definitely centered around impacting others, loving on other people, shedding light, and just building up those around me. So I definitely appreciate you noticing. But a little bit about myself: born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Been in North Carolina my entire life. When I was 17, I moved to Charlotte to attend the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I have 2 degrees from there, a bachelor's in middle grades education, and then a master's in instructional technology systems. So I was a classroom teacher for 7 years. I worked in central office for CMS, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, for another 4 years almost. And I loved it. I absolutely loved teaching. But of course, we know that comes with a lot. And so I made the decision to leave the classroom. And then in 2020, They cut about 12 positions, and I was one of the 12. And I decided that it was just an opportunity for me to never allow someone to take a position from me. And so I decided that I was going to become an entrepreneur. I do have two little boys. They're ages 2 and 3. They're doors right next door, so I can imagine you all can hear them. And I also am a bonus mom to an 11-year-old and a wife and a caregiver for my mother. So I wear many hats. So I think that's not sharing too much to leave you some questions.
That's great. So listen, well, I have three bonus children that also graduated from UNCC. So
Ah,
yeah, I have three bonus children that graduated from that university. It's good. It's a great school, excellent school.
yeah.
But but I want to ask you, when you decided to be an entrepreneur, why real estate?
Hmm. So, for many different reasons, but ultimately, um, I had thought about real estate even before. So, when I was a classroom teacher, I looked it up. I said 80 hours in a classroom. I said, oh, that's not going to work. Because as a teacher, I'm like, I'm not spending my summer in anybody else's classroom. So, I never did it then. But growing up, I was raised by my grandparents. And so my grandfather served in World War II. And when he came back to the States, he did not receive the same land grants as his other white servicemen. But my grandfather worked really hard. He was really intentional. And he purchased a home in an all Black neighborhood in the 60s. And that's the same home that I came home from the hospital that I left when I went to college. So, 17 years. And as a young person, I didn't appreciate or even really understand all that he invested so his family could have a home. But as was becoming an adult, I was like, you know what? That man worked really, really hard. Of course, you hear people say it, you hear your grandmother say it. But when I really processed all that he did to even purchase a home as a Black man in the 60s, coming back from the war, it really opened my eyes. And if I'm being transparent, when my grandparents passed away, the home was left to my mother. She was left in care of me, and we ended up losing the house. And I was devastated. I don't regret a lot of things because I'm definitely one of those people where things happen as they need to happen. But I was just so hurt that I did not have an opportunity or I didn't have the resources to be able to keep our family home. And so once I got in a position to be able to own, I immediately purchased. So I currently own two homes. One is an investment property. So why real estate? Because we've always been doing it. We've always purchased homes, but we often lose grandma home. We lose auntie's home because one, we don't talk about things enough. Two, we often don't save or invest enough to be able to have what we need when something is left. And so I want to be a part of, not that we don't know about home ownership, because Black people absolutely do, but maintaining it and allowing it to that equity to be an advantage to us is why I do what I do.
See, you said equity, right? Like, which is a word seldom used in the Black community, right? Like, it's a word that's seldom used. But equity is actually real money, right? Like, it's real money. And when like I've done a lot of these interviews, and what I've noticed in all of them is that most of the people that do are entrepreneurs. They do it because not that they want to make money. Of course you want to make money because you want to, right? But a lot of people want to help people, right? They want to help people with the information that they have, with their expertise, with their profession. So when it comes to home ownership, how do you help people?
Absolutely. So just the same way you noticed my energy, my vibe, I've always loved talking. I always have. My report cards would show that. And so what I do in being intentional is I'm consistently sharing content and sharing information. I apologize. There's some background noise. But I'm consistently sharing information. I'm consistently making sure that I'm in conversation. I'm in rooms. I recently spoke. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and so I intentionally, I intentionally went back and spoke to. So I'm 15 years of Delta, and so rest peacefully, our Madam President who just passed. But I was intentional in going back and making sure that I was speaking to the students. And so I spoke to the college age girls during a program where we were talking about home ownership and making sure that they understood more than just the surface. And I was comfortable and I was transparent in sharing with them my own experiences so that they could learn from my mistakes. And so in sharing the truth of I lost grandma home. So not just, we shouldn't lose grandma home. I lost it, had to learn from it, had to move on from it. And so I'm just really intentional about sharing. Like anyone that's willing to have a conversation about it, I'm willing to share with them. And then you can easily find my information that's out there that I'm posting on all social networks, and I'm sharing this information. So sharing is caring, and that's what I typically do.
Sharing is caring. So you want to help people, you share the information, but in your profession, what is one of the major, I don't want to call it an obstacle. I don't want to call it an obstacle. I want to call it hurdle hurdle that a lot of people have to get over before they actually go into the process, the beginning stages of purchasing a property, whether it be for a home or an investment property? What are some of the like the first hurdle that they have to get over?
Absolutely. So this is all combined. So it's more than one thing, but the first hurdle, you all, is absolutely being willing to look at your finances. I'm guilty in the past, as well as I know many people. We swipe. That card makes it so easy to just swipe, swipe, swipe. And so your first step is managing your finances and reviewing them consistently. So yes, you should be checking your credit score at the minimum once a month. You should absolutely be saving money. You have to have money set aside, not only for your own emergency fund, but if you're interested in being a homeowner, there are going to be fees involved, and there's no maintenance person to call. So monitoring your credit, maintaining that credit, so that includes utilization, keeping your utilization low. I don't recall anyone talking to me about that, and so I'm really big about sharing. Yes, you need to have that utilization under 30%. If we can get it under 10%, and that's how people build their credit. They make an on-time payments, they keep the utilization low, they're paying for their gas, and they pay it off immediately. Those are the things that we need to be talking about. And so I share that with people. They're like, oh my goodness, Jessica, I grew up in a home where they just said credit was bad. And so because generationally, someone may have had a bad experience with credit, instead of figuring out what steps need to happen in order to improve your credit, in our communities, people are saying credit is bad, don't use it at all. So credit, monitoring it, saving your funds. And I also, lastly, so your credit and your debt are tied in, but the last thing that I would say is your income. I think it's important to increase your income. I truly believe that we all have a gift and a talent. So even if you are working a 9 to 5 that you love or that you don't love, I do believe that there are other opportunities for you to earn. And so I encourage people. I used to be that type of person, like, oh my goodness, I got to cut out my Starbucks. I got to cut out Netflix. And in reality, yeah, I might save $100 over the year by not doing that. But when you tap into yourself and you're willing to use your gifts, you could be making an extra $20,000 a year instead of just cutting back. So I encourage people to monitor your credit. I encourage you to save, and I encourage you to earn more, because you can. It is possible.
I like the fact that you said income, because everyone who talks about credit always talks about, from my point of view anyway, they're always talking about maintaining your credit or paying your things on time. But in my mind, my logical mind is that I don't. I, you can have a great credit score, but if you ain't making no money,
It don't matter. It does not matter. Listen, you're not gonna go too far.
right, right, you can have a 780 credit score, but making $20,000 an hour. I mean, a year. That doesn't mean anything, right? Like, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. Now, when you take on a client
Mm-hmm.
and they come to you and they say, "Well, Jessica, I want to buy a home." What are the things that you require for them to bring into you in that initial meeting?
Yeah. So initial consultation, Dolores, I really just want to have a conversation. So one, I'm a talker, but two, I want to find out what's most important to my potential client. I want to know, why do you want to be a homeowner? And not in a sense to change your mind. I want to know your reason. I think that knowing our why is important because the process can be tedious. Like you said, there can be hurdles. And so I like to start off with their why because they're going to need to know that why when the underwriter comes back and says, we can't close for another 20 days or something's wrong. I like to start with their why. Um, and I do talk about finances to a degree. I kind of go over that same thing that I just shared, but I absolutely, when a client comes to me, I have to know their why, because then when we're in conversation and things come up, I'm able to remind them of why we started this journey and why it is important and how we are going to make it through this.
So why is it important to be a homeowner?
I believe it's important to be a homeowner for different reasons. The first thing is, falling in line with my own personal why and the sacrifices and the shoulders that I do stand on. I do honor my ancestors and my family. And so I like to think that I am making them proud. But I believe it's important for home ownership. I believe it provides a sense of happiness. And that's why I said I love that you started with happy. Having something of your own absolutely can provide you happiness, but of course, everybody is different. So, my initial is happiness because you have that opportunity to build and grow and change and renovate if you choose to because it's yours. There's another piece that I believe, why I believe home ownership is important is because back to this opportunity at equity. Uh, Last year, I had 3 young ladies come to me and say, Jessica, I want to sell my home, but I'm scared. All 3 were first time home owners. And living in this society, people tell you, buy a home, buy a home. And so they felt like they had kind of accomplished the American dream, but felt nervous about what was next. And it was just absolutely gratifying to Norris, where all 3 of these young ladies, Black females, single, well, one has 2 children, other 2 no children, but all walked away from the closing table with 6 figures. And that equity that they had in their home, although they were just scared. All of them expressed to me at some point like, dang, like what's next for me? I don't know what to do. One of them was like, Jessica, I need 110. You need to have it to me. I'm not selling it unless I can make this. I've been watching the market. But it's, I wish I could even put it into words how gratifying it was to share with them, because one of them, very savvy. She said, now how much I'm gonna have to pay in taxes? When I shared with her how much she would get back, I'm like, you're gonna earn these 6 figures. And she's like, how much I gotta pay in taxes? And because it had been her primary residence, those capital gain taxes, she doesn't have to pay them because it was her primary residence and she lived there for longer than 2 of the 5 years. And when I told her she didn't have to pay any taxes, the conversation that we had, she was like, that's how they making all this money. She was like, they live in something for 2 years and depending on the market, you sell it. They could do that. Someone who's depending on your age, you could just do that over and over again. And so she was mind blown. It was completely gratifying sharing with them that they didn't have to pay taxes on those dollars. And I think that's that piece where you ask me, how are you sharing? And as I learn things, because I don't know everything, but as I learn things, one thing I do, I'm going to share with somebody else. And so it just was rewarding to help 3 Black women walk away from a table with 6 figures and have an opportunity for just some freedom that they had never had. Most 2 of the 3 come from humble beginnings. The other one, her family was in the military, but still, not her money, her parents' money. So it was just awesome. It hands down, wasn't even expecting that type of gratification or even that experience. I couldn't foresee, oh, I'm gonna make somebody this amount of dollars, but
and to be honest, it didn't hurt your pockets either. Like
sure did. As you know. I am very grateful. I told you I have children. So listen, got people mouths to feed, honey. 3 boys. They are busy and active. And
well,
mom like to go on trips too.
Right. Well, for me, I think home ownership is like when I go to New York or these major metropolitans, and I see these buildings that's been up for 50, 100 years. You know what I mean? Like just been up, and one family owns this building, right? So, excuse me, I take that and I think about a home, right? So if you buy a home and you keep that home up, generations can live in that home. Generations, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like a generational hotel, right? It's a generational hotel. Like, if you got that, because God ain't making no more land.
There's no more.
So if you got a property on a piece of land, you got a piece of the world.
Yes.
A piece of the world is yours, and solely yours, as long as you can pay the taxes on it. You know what I mean? That is your world. So I think, like, for us as Black people, we're so used to renting or leasing. The value of home ownership is lost in us. It's lost in us. And I see it all the time. Like, for us as Black people, value is not really a stern word, right? Right. It's not a stern word, value, because you'll go out here and if you get $100,000 or whatever, you'll go and you'll pay $50,000-$60,000 on the car. Knowing that the value of that car will decrease the moment you drive it off the lot.
Just like this. Immediately.
Now, every Black person that I know has heard that, but yet they would still go and get that $50,000 car. Dick Gregory, it's crazy. Dick Gregory said something in one of his stand-ups. He said, if you see a man driving a Cadillac and you know he works in a factory, don't worry about it. He's going to pull up to the gas station and put $2 worth of gas in the car because he ain't going nowhere. Right? You muted your mic because he ain't going nowhere. So that is I'm glad you said that about the gratification, the income, and it's crazy because I was telling my wife earlier today that y'all women are doing y'all thing, man. Y'all are doing y'all thing. Like, if you look at my show, if you look at any episodes of my show, 90% of it is women. It's not that I haven't reached out to men, but women, they tend to take a more serious approach to a business outside of the home than a man does. Because I think a man, especially a Black man, they feel like, well, I'm healthy, I can go get a job, right?
Right.
I can go get a job. Whereas I believe Black women, they are accustomed to finding a way to make a way.
As we are.
Right? Like, I think Black women are accustomed to finding a way to make a way. So with the real estate market as it is now. Would you say right now, is it a good time to buy?
I get this question frequently. And my ultimate answer is yes. And the reason why I say yes is because purchasing real estate is a risk. Just the same way if someone were to invest in the stock market, it is a risk. Although it may be calculated because you may be following, statistics, you may be following trends. Same thing with the real estate market. So there's going to be a risk no matter what. But my reason for yes is because there's no way to predict. Like many people think that the market is going to, they think it's going to crash. I don't foresee that happening. Many analysts don't foresee that happening. And so at this time, when mortgage rates are still decent and low, because we don't know what's going to happen as inflation does happen, or they may want to increase mortgage rates. We don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do at any point. And so at this time, mortgage rates are still considerably low. I would say yes. Now, I would never say it's a good time to purchase when you're trying to purchase outside of your budget, but it is a good time to purchase if you have the means and your debt to income is in a good space. You're going to be able to afford it. Another reason why I say yes to Norris, and I know my answer is a little long-winded, but I'm just thinking about examples. I have a young lady who went under contract this past summer, so summer 2021, on a new construction home. And, she was a little concerned, she's like, because what's going to happen next year with the market? And I was like, there's no way for us to know, but you're going to own this and it's going to be your land. So we kind of stuck with that. When she went under contract, as I mentioned this summer, I had another client who wanted something under $300,000 because that's the price range that this other young lady was in. So I was like, let me take you here because I'm under contract here. I know this area. When we went back 6 months later, the price was $35,000 more. So my client went under contract summer 2021. The home isn't even finished being built, and she is going to walk in the door. Someone could purchase in that neighborhood, and they're going to purchase for over $300,000, and we got her under contract at $270 just 6-7 months ago. So people are building equity even through this. People are like, oh my God, these prices are ridiculous. But her example, it just goes to show, like, anybody purchasing in there right now is going to spend another $35,000 that she did not have to spend just because we chose to lock in early. So I do think it's smart to make wise decisions. I wouldn't recommend someone purchasing something that's, you need a trusted agent. I want you to choose me if you're in Charlotte Metro, but if you're not, you still need a trusted agent, whoever that is. If you find him on social media, if it's a friend of the family, it needs to be someone that you can talk to and ask questions to, that's going to give you the real. And if they don't know the answer, you need somebody that's not just going to fluff you. You need somebody that's going to say, I'm going to find out, so that you can make good decisions with your money. So some people will say no, but I say yes. But it has to be calculated.
Okay, so now you said someone that you can trust, that you can ask questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a first-time home buyer, what questions do I need to ask?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Now I have a really long list. I do have a home buyer's guide that I would love for you to download, but there's so many questions. I would start off with the lender. So as a first-time home buyer, you need to connect with a lender. Now your realtor is going to know lots of lenders because they're working almost hand in hand. One doesn't get paid without the other, but you want to connect with multiple different lenders. So I say this example. If you bank with the credit union, you may want to find out what the credit union is going to be able to offer you when it comes to a mortgage, because many credit unions are willing to cover closing costs. Whereas if you go with a Bank of America or another large organization, you may not get that same thing, or depending on the time period, they may have other incentives that will benefit you. There are also a lot of private lenders. So I recommend connecting with multiple different lenders, being comfortable with filling out, I say 3, some people only like to do 2, but filling out those applications more than once, because you want to know, okay, if this person's offering me this, you don't have to go with that first offer. You need to find out what else is available. Another question that you should be asking as a first-time home buyer is, what is due diligence? What is earnest money? Because you're going to have to put up certain monies in order to be able to bid on a home. So making sure that you're asking, what does this money go towards? Don't, and no question is silly. So if you don't understand earnest money from due diligence, ask your agent again. Make them explain it. I'm one of those, like, let's talk about it, and here's an article, just to make it tie all together, depending on what your learning style is. But due diligence is the money that is non-refundable. But if you pay $5,000 in due diligence and you are buying a $300,000 home, now the bank or whomever is only lending you $295,000. So it does go towards that final amount, that sales price. So it's just tons of questions, Denoris, that I would want a first-time home buyer to ask. I guess starting off with the lender, because you want multiple options, but also starting off with the lender because you want to be able to communicate with someone to say, well, if I make these changes with my finances, how would that impact how much I get approved for? So you want to know those numbers, and a lender is the best person to talk to about that, because they're going to be able to tell you, because that's what they're doing every day.
Well, you know what? I would think like you would want multiple lenders so that you're able to play them against each other.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, because it's a contract, right? It's a contract.
And it's business.
Right. And it's business. So that means there's a negotiation process in all of that.
That's right.
I think what we do is, as Black Americans, we just look at a house and we say, I want that house.
Mm-hmm.
I want that house. Like, what is it going to take me to get that house versus what is it going to take me to get that house for less? Right. Like,
right.
So I think like your information with filling out multiple lenders is great, because I think like a lot of times, if you want something, there comes a point to where it doesn't matter.
It don't matter. Mm-hmm.
Right? Price doesn't matter, but it should, because in the long run, like it hurts, right? Like
that's right. You have to absolutely, you want to take your time. You want to consider everything, and that's something that coming in this current market, is so easy to tell clients, well, it's going to have 12 offers, so you just need to put one in. No, I don't want any of my clients having buyer's remorse. So what I tell them is, if this is yours, when you are ready and you've considered, you've prayed, you've done whatever it is that you need to do, and you feel confident in your answer that this is your home, then if it's still available and they accept our offer, then it's yours. But rushing into something where you don't even know if you really want it, and then you end up with buyer's remorse, and you want you've taken out a loan for $300,000, that wouldn't sit right with me. So I tell my clients, take your time. I know that the market may feel like you cannot take your time, but you can, because if you don't, you will have regret. You got to take your time. You have to know. And like you said, kind of playing them against one another. But I just think of it as, like you said, it's a business transaction. So if someone is offering me a better rate, I'm willing to share that with you. But if you can't meet it, I mean, I'll share with you. Here's why. Yeah, here's why. Here is why.
Okay, so my major fear is 2008. Right? That's like it's because like the contracts that you're signed with these lenders are so word heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Word heavy. And the important aspects of any contract is always small, right? Like, right, it's always small print. And, redlining, predatory lending,
Mm-hmm.
what they call that, I think it's called balloon payments, where your payments will increase over time.
Over time. Mm-hmm.
So how do you guard yourself against that? Those things, predatory lending. Well, you can't guard yourself against redlining because that's what they do.
Because you just gonna walk in and be black, honey. But as far as predatory lending, I will say that there is a lot of information. Like companies are required to, of course, by law, share through the Fair Credit Act. Like they're required to share multiple different things. Um, I think the best way to look out for that sort of thing is, as we know, everybody has the internet. There's no reason why you should be working with a company and you can't read a review. And even if they're a new company, they're going to have a website. They're going to have something. You know what I mean? And even if they're a new company and something doesn't sit right and it doesn't feel well, you don't have to be there first. So let somebody else do it. But I just always recommend people to do their research. And and when you say that, it could feel, Black Research Institute, it could feel overwhelming. So, I say, just the same way you look up on Instagram and you find something, go Google that company, go Google that person before we go and spend money with someone. But you know what, Dolores, what really, I haven't had to protect anybody from any predatory lending. I haven't had that issue. But you know what has come up that was overwhelming right now was there are a lot of people scamming, and they are creating. My first deal of 2021 in January, I closed like January 5th, January 6th. Some hacker, scammer used attorney, the attorney's logo, the lender's logo, had their name, and sent a phishing email requesting the down payments. Now, mind you, my client did have to bring $15,000 to the attorney. But because her and I had such a good relationship, she met me on Instagram, but because we put in like 12 offers before we got one. But because we had developed a relationship, she forwarded to me and she said, Jessica, do I need to send this to them? I looked at it. I said, don't send anything. Let me look at it. I look at it. And then I realized that the email address, because, most companies are going to have their company name behind their email address. So I noticed that it was a Gmail account, and that was my red flag. And I was like, don't send anything. Let me send this to the attorney. And they were like, yeah, that's happening a lot, where scammers, they are just duplicating the exact thing and tricking people. And this was this young lady was 26 years old. I know we hear older, this is not offensive, but we hear older people being vulnerable because they're not familiar with certain things with email. But baby, this 26 and almost sent her $15,000 to someone because it was a tight process. It was long. She was like, I'm ready to be over. Her closing was the very next day. So in her mind, hey, Jess, do I need to send this here? But if she had not, and she just sent it, I said, what would have happened? I asked the attorney, what would have happened? They were like, she could have filed a claim and hoped that we got it back, but it would have been gone ultimately unless her bank institution fought for her to get it back. I was like, oh my God. So I haven't had to do it with predatory lending, but I have had to deal with scammers, and it is scary. From that experience, I tell all my clients, don't send anybody any money without me clearing it, and then let me clear it 2 times. We're not wiring any funds unless I can pick up the phone and speak to the attorney to find out their routing information. because people have been I'm disgusted by it.
Well, you know what though? I you know, since the dawn of time, right? Um, even the mafia said there's a sucker born every minute, right? Like even the mafia said that. But for me, for a scammer to get that information, to get the letterhead, to get the logo, it had to be a breach in the attorney and the lender's emails, right? It had to be a breach there because how do you know I'm looking for a house? How do you know I'm about to close for a house if it's not a breach in your system?
Oh, you know, I asked that question. You know, I asked the question. And the thing, you know, they were just kind of, well, we have at the bottom. So now they all put it at the bottom of their email. Do not wire any funds without contacting us. Like that's their way of not holding themselves liable. But I was definitely like, is this happening frequently? Why are you not buying a new system to protect, you know, your clients? Like I asked a whole lot of questions. And I did switch lenders and attorney, and because I was just like a little shook. But I have found even switching lenders, switching attorneys. I haven't had that exact situation happen again, but I have all of them make that blanket statement of don't wire any funds. They have it in red at the bottom of their email. But like you said, they have to put some things in place. Like you know, they do need to be responsible, but they definitely are not willing to, other than saying, well, we told you not to wire anything. I'm like, it was awful. It was awful. My client was crying. It was awful.
My problem with that is put that at the top of the email. Don't put that at the bottom. Put that at the top. Put that at the top of the email. But you know, I tell everybody, living in America is like going to the casino. It's a gamble.
It
Gamble.
sure is.
It's, it's all a gamble. It's a roll of the dice. You know, you never know,
You just
and
never know.
you never know. Like, and if you look at it now, like you have people who are trying to do what you do, right? It's a lot of people that's trying to do what you do. A lot of people trying to teach financial literacy. A lot of people that's trying to tell you how to improve your credit. All these people are doing these, and they just seemingly came out of the air. Like they just and it's like, okay, if you're telling me this, if you're telling me all of this information, where do I get the information that you have so I can go and research it myself?
That. And so I have nothing against anyone that's doing credit repair. But what I do tell people is before you go give somebody $100 a month when you're trying to fix your credit, let's read an article. Let's make on time payments. Like, you know, like I 100% agree. Like, let's share the information. We shouldn't be gatekeeping. We should not be holding on so tight to what we know, because there's an abundance. You know, it's not a necessity to gatekeep or to hold on or bottleneck someone, because the reality is there's more available. You know, there's no lack, but we know that is a mindset thing where we are working on our people's mindsets daily.
And that's exactly why I do this show, right? I want to show us in the light of people that like yourself and other professionals that we don't normally get to see every day, right? We don't get to see a successful realtor that is caring, compassionate, and wants to see their client happy. We don't get to see that, because most of the time when we're going to buy a house, we're going to buy a house and that realtor is just, no offense, but that realtor is white.
Yeah.
Right? That realtor is white. The contractor is white. The developer is white. The lender is white. You know what I mean? And for them, it's about money. It's about money, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, we live in America, which is synonymous with capitalism, right? Like, so I understand that you got to make money, right? But at the expense of someone's life savings or some who has worked hard to save up this money to be able to be in a position
to
to
even.
own a home, right? And you're gonna take that because you are a scammer. I say it all the time. The internet created more snake oil salesmen. Like it's a lot of snake oil salesmen
It
out here.
is.
And when I looked at your page, oh wait a minute, hold on. Before I go, I want you to hear something. That's the music from your TikTok. I'll give it not none of that. I'll give it.
I like to have fun. I do. I do. Listen, we all gonna leave here one day, so I like to have a good time. I do. I do. That is so funny.
When I saw that TikTok, because you know what you reminded me of when I saw that TikTok. There's a Senate candidate in Louisiana.
Oh,
And
Gary
yeah,
Chambers.
yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And the confidence that he had to have to do that, right? To do that was, I mean, because it's Louisiana, right? Like it's Louisiana. And for the most part, I hope he wins. I really do. I really, but
But
it,
look, it's
it's,
still Louisiana.
it's Louisiana. But
Mhm.
what he did do though, he he wasn't just smoking marijuana. He
No.
gave facts. Like
Right.
he gave information about it, and not only who's getting arrested for it, but how much money the state is spending by incarcerating these people. So
Absolutely. I mean, and honestly, I'm one of those people. So
right,
you could tell me to move on, but just like slavery, the enslaved people made them so much money, but they were unwilling to even anything, like just the thought of it. Anyway, I just feel like it's another cycle of, well, we can make money off marijuana, but you need to be in prison. Like it's just it's yeah, I
well,
have opinions. I have feelings.
what I think, like mindsets come in waves, right?
Yeah.
They come in waves, right? And I think what we're experiencing, and I think it was Obama that opened the floodgates to that, because
Mm,
when he became a presidential candidate, that made more of us be more involved with the political process, right? Like,
true.
right, it made us become more involved and how the political process works,
Right.
right? Like how it functions. Um, a lot of us didn't know that the reason why a lot of these brothers and sisters getting incarcerated for marijuana is because most of the time they're taking plea bargains because they fear that if they go to court, it's going to be nothing but white people on the jury. But
Right.
when you are a registered voter, you're automatically put into the jury pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they get the jury pool. You only get to be a juror if you are a registered
Registered voter.
right? So that Obama actually opened the floodgates to that, and now we are people like yourself. We're in real estate, which is an industry that I'm 53 years old. I didn't see any black real estate agents when I was growing up.
Well, we couldn't even, we couldn't participate. Really, we couldn't participate in the sale of real estate until, was it the 50s?
Yep, yep. So I think like we with any mindset, you have that upward climb to where you just trying stuff, right? You everybody just trying stuff, and all that trying does is give you access to more and more information to add on to what someone else tried before, right?
Yeah,
Like you get more and more information to what someone else tried before, and
that's
then eventually you become good at it, right? Like you become good at it. Like someone generations down the line or years down the line, now they become good at it, and they do, and they pass that information on. So what I want to ask you is that this, when I've always thought about this, it's hard for you as an individual to say, you know what, I want to get a $350,000 home as an individual when you know that across the country, um, the black medium income is about $10,000 to $15,000 less than the white medium income. Have you ever thought about forming an investment team to buy property?
Absolutely. So yes, I have considered that. My husband actually, him and a group of his friends are actually starting an investment group. Thankfully, they are starting that. It is definitely a desire and a goal of mine to be able to, put our resources together. Let's own multiple things. You know what I mean? So that we have an opportunity to build equity in this country. I mentioned to you that
And security.
insecurity, like that stability. We're not new to home ownership. We're not new to it. We just need that stability and that just to stay in the game. But yes, I absolutely have considered. I mentioned that I saw own two properties, and one of them is an investment property. So I have a tenant, and I mean it's rewarding. But as you mentioned, like just thinking bigger, you know, taking that next step in because I have the information, because I have opportunity as well as access to resources. Taking that next step to do more is something that I am consistently thinking about. And you have challenged me, and I need to put some things to action for sure.
And they listen, when I think about people that do like developments, like that build developments, that
Yes.
that's not their money. They ain't doing it with their money.
No.
Not they're not doing it with their money. They went and got a loan. They went and got investors. They went and got people who believe in what they were trying to do or what they're trying to do and say, yeah, not only do I believe in you, but I also believe we can make some money, right?
Mhm.
We can make some. And that's why I try to get us to understand that, look, it's strength in numbers.
That's
It's
right.
lot of, it's a whole lot of strength in numbers. Not only from
Using other people's money.
but not only in the monetary aspect of it, but in the knowledge, in the information, and in like if you're my partner, I want to see you win.
Exactly.
I want to see you win. And hopefully you want to see me win. So
Eh,
that we both got to do our part so that we both can win.
mhm.
So
That collective piece. And,
that,
and like you said, that's why you do this podcast, excuse me. And that's why we share this information because that mindset of wanting to see others win and knowing that there is an abundance and we have an opportunity to be able to help one another, build
hey,
one another, share what we know. You good at this? Great. Okay, I'm good at this. Let's put our resources together for sure. Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes.
you know how people say money don't grow on trees,
Mm-hmm.
but money is made by trees. It may not
Exactly.
It may not grow on them, but it take trees for money. I used to live in Washington D.C. and I used to drive by the Bureau of well, ride the bus by the Bureau of Engraving, and
Mhm.
and and I never went in, but I knew in that building they was printing money.
Yep.
That's what they doing. They are printing money in that building every day. Not a single day that goes by that they are not printing money. So money is not the problem. It's
Mm-mm.
the economy of the money. It's what you do with the money. It's how you utilize the money. Because money is not the problem.
No.
Just Jessica. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm a Pisces. You like to talk a lot. I like to talk a lot. We've been on this podcast for an hour and it doesn't even feel like it.
Didn't even feel like it, Dolores. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. It did not feel like an hour. Now that you said it, I'm like, oh my goodness. I had stopped looking at the time. I am so grateful. This was wonderful.
Okay, I want to ask you a question though.
Okay.
Well, I got a couple of questions, but I want to ask you a question. Is that did you enjoy yourself?
I did enjoy myself. This was well worth it. I want to continue to share. I was challenged with that last question of, okay, putting the resources together. Absolutely. Like my husband's an electrical contractor. I'm a real estate agent, former teacher. Like what are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? So yes, I was challenged. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, you all, please reach out to me. Anything that you think of when it comes to real estate, even if I'm not in your state, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at CLT Realtor Jess. On Facebook, it's just Jessica Gordon Realtor, if I'm not mistaken. But when you type in Jessica Gordon Realtor in North Carolina, it should pop up. You can find me on Google, realtor.com, all of the websites.
Well, thank you, Jess. And it's customary that here on the Black Research Institute that I have to ask you two parting questions. And the last question is a three-part question. But the first question is, what are you doing, Miss Jessica Gordon, to push the culture forward?
Absolutely. First thing I'm doing is raising 3 Black boys in America. I love on them. I teach them who they are. Our youngest, his middle name is Mansa, after Musa Mansa, the wealthiest Black man to live.
Time out. Hold up. The wealthiest man.
Man.
Not Black.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So before I had children, I was a teacher. So a lot of my service and love pouring went on to my students. But now that I am a parent, it is very important for me to start at home. So they are who I invest in first, ensuring that they know who they are, because that legacy gets an opportunity to continue. And I also serve by loving on others. I believe in giving grace. I believe in sharing what I know. And so that is how I move the culture forward.
Okay. I like that. I like that. So now I need for you to name me 3 famous Black people, but they can't be athletes or entertainers.
Yeah. Okay, Maya Angelou. Oh, do they have to be living, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. So
Hey, wait. You can't use Mansa Musa. You can't.
because I already knew about him. That ain't right. The noise. Everybody don't know about him. Okay. I'm always trying to school people. Okay. I love the way you put me on the spot. All right. So God, all my literary people, my classroom is coming back, but Nikki Giovanni, Maya Angelou. Let me do a man. Let me do a man. Hold on. That's too cliche. Hold on.
Were you gonna say Martin Luther King?
No.
Okay. Don't.
No. I love the teachings of Martin, Malcolm, all of them. No. But just too cliche. Hold on. I have to do a man because I don't want to only do women.
Okay.
And then you wouldn't let me do Mansa.
No, you can't do Mansa.
Gosh. And of course, like all these names are coming in my head. And then I'm looking at the pictures behind you and I don't want to say them either.
Now you can't use them.
I want to do a man. All these women are popping up in my head.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Name a woman. It doesn't really matter.
It does, because I'm raising boys and can't say a man's name. Um, what'd you say?
I said, I know that's right.
It does. It does matter. You said not an athlete and not an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
Why? This is ridiculous. I'm so ashamed.
Don't, don't be. Don't be ashamed. You're not the only one that gets stuck on it. Everybody gets stuck on this question. Everybody.
Because I'm.
I know you know them. If they just not coming to you right now. I know
Right.
you know.
Because I'm thinking of all these women, and so I'm like, I have to say a man's name for my third one. I just have to. I can't talk about raising boys and don't have a man's name. I am so ashamed. Um, Chairman Fred Hampton.
Woo! No, you didn't go with Fred. You went with Fred Chicago, Black Panther. Oh my God, young brother that was gunned down in his bed. Oh,
In the
my
bed, in his bed, while he was drugged.
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
not just that he was killed in his bed, they drugged him so he couldn't even retaliate because they knew he was gonna get him. They
So
knew.
I asked that question at the end of every show to let us know how much we don't know about ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like and it's not really our fault because we're not really responsible for our education.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not
Right.
so it's not taught to us. It's not taught to us about Fred or the guy that's in the military uniform back there, Marcus Garvey, is probably one of the most famous black men ever. And I never learned about him in school. Right? So, but I want us to understand that look, we can't depend on upliftment, enlightenment, education, self-love outside of yourself.
That's right. That's right.
You can't depend on that because they're gonna not tell you those things because those things not only instill in you pride, but they instill in you courage.
That's right. And that's scary for them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was so good. That was so good. I love that, Denoris. Thank you. Although I'm ashamed because I'm on camera for 3 minutes, not naming a name, but I was like, don't Google Jessica. You can do this. I was like talking to myself. I'm like, you love black men, Jessica. You better answer this darn question. So thank you for putting me on the spot. But no, I get why you asked the question. It's critical that we love ourselves and that we empower ourselves. And I think what we're seeing right now, Denoris, with the pushback on critical race theory and the 1619 project is that very thing where us having courage and us knowing who we are and from where we come would only destroy this place.
Well, this is how I look at it. How do you expect someone to teach you true history that how do you expect a country to teach you true history, like real unadulterated history, when they tried to keep you from reading?
You weren't.
Right?
It was written in writing. Illegal. It was a law.
It was a law that you couldn't be taught how to read. So
Nor right.
if you know this, then you need to learn and take some responsibility to teach yourself, teach your kids, teach anybody else. Like, for example, and I can talk, but for example, we have grown up thinking that Uncle Tom was a bad thing. We call each other Uncle Tom to degrade you, but Uncle Tom was actually a good man. You don't call someone uncle that is bad.
Yeah.
Right? Uncle Tom was inspired by Josiah Henson. Uncle Tom's Cabin, who was written by a white young lady, she said she got her inspiration for Uncle Tom's Cabin by Josiah Henson, who was an ex-slave that escaped slavery and went to Canada and built a home for ex-slaves to come and work and live. But we were taught that Uncle Tom was a bad thing. And you hear black people calling each other, he's an Uncle Tom. That's not. That's so I asked that question just for us to be aware that, like, if you believe a lie, right? If you grew up believing a lie, and it can be detrimental to you. And not only to you, but to generations after you, because you create that lie and you're going to pass it down, and they're going to pass it down, and they're going to pass it down, right? It's important for us to find out not only the truth about ourselves, but just the truth, period.
Just the truth. And that's why they don't like critical race theory. And that's why they don't like, because it's the truth. Like, why are y'all afraid to talk about things as they are? That's what happened.
I mean, it's the same thing that happened, with on the Edmondson Bridge or the George Floyd incident. They can deny it if no one is talking about it or no one sees it. But once it's seen, you cannot deny that. Like, there's no denying that. And with that, Jessica, I'm gonna let you go tend to your babies. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking it. And if you need anything, you want to come on, you got some new information to share, the BRI is red carpet for you.
Thank you so much, Denoris. This was a pleasure. And I love the way you ended it. I'm motivated. All kind of things I'm going to be incorporating. I love that.
Well, thank you. And I tell people, you come on my show, I'll put a battery in your back.
That's right.
I put a battery in your back, and I see it all the time. And if you notice, I don't ask people to subscribe. I don't ask people to join. This is not for that. This is for us. This is for us.
This is for us.
And you are inspiration to me, and you gave me some information that me and my family and my wife would be able to say, well, even if I forget, I know your number now. So
right. That's right. Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everyone, Miss Jessica Gordon. Jessica, do me a favor. Hold back. Finish the show because I want to ask you a couple of questions. Okay.
Gotcha. I'll be here.
Okay then. Okay, everybody. That was Jessica Gordon. I hope you got a lot of information, or not a lot, but at least something to inspire you to look forward and to keep investigating. If you're trying to buy a home, if you're trying to invest in some property, make sure you check her out. Tomorrow I will get a link to her social media and put it on the BRI site, so just in case you want to contact her. But information. Dick Gregory also said this. He said, we all been taught that knowledge is power, but before you have knowledge, you have to have information. Information is power. And I try to disseminate, well, not me, I try to provide people a platform so they can disseminate information. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, in order for you to receive a blessing, you must first be a blessing. And with that, peace.
Namaste, everyone. I am Tonisha Cohen King, owner of Influence Yoga and Wellness Therapy. I'm a certified yoga and meditation instructor and therapist. You can follow me as Chakra Ivy on Instagram. But right now, you are tuned into the Black Research Institute with Negus Denoris Wilson. Check us out. Y'all, I have been sitting here for at least 2 hours.
No, at least an hour, 45 minutes. And I hope that I could compile the bloopers and share them, because I was literally like, blah, 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 just getting so frustrated. I would get to the end of a thing and then jack something up. On Monday, January 31st at 8 p.m. on the BRI Network, the Black Institute, Jesus, I sound like I'm not even being normal. This is hard. The Black Research Institute, y'all, with the one and only Negus Norris. What's this man's name? Why you gotta have 3 names? And CS Freight Firm. See what we got. Hello, everyone. My name is China. I am the owner of Accessory Closet and CS Freight Firm. You can find me on social media outlets at Accessory Closet and at CS Freight Firm. You can also catch me live on Monday, January 31st at 8 p.m. Y'all, I'm so excited about this. On the BRI Network, that is the Black Research Institute with the one and only Negus Denoris Wilson. Tell a friend, set your alerts, tune in. You do not